Thanks for the opportunity to share. It's always a privilege to share my experience. Certainly this time of year, I'm coming up on my sobriety birth date, which is that was not intentional. I wasn't planning on getting sober on February 1st of 2009. That's just the way that it happened. And through the grace of God and Alcoholics Anonymous, the past almost 9 years has been beyond anything than that I ever anticipated. Our we share in a general way what we used to feel like, what happened, and what now. And I've come to really believe in the value of sharing and sharing things that are personal to me, because the identification and meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous is the glue that holds us together. We have to be able to find someone that we can identify with, that we believe, one, drank like we did, but two, that I may just relate to them enough to believe that I'm not alone. We all come to this program thinking that we're the only ones like this, the only ones that think a certain way, that have had certain things happen to us, and that feeling of aloneness has kept us apart from life up until the point that we're able to connect to it, to have a spiritual experience that makes us realize that we're not alone. And for many years, that spiritual experience for me was alcohol. And I don't say that lightly. When in the back of our book, Alcoholics Anonymous, when it describes a spiritual experience as a change in perception and a change in attitude in the way we see things, that's exactly what alcohol did for me. Have I lost signal?
No.
No.
No, you're.
Nope. Okay, sorry. That's exactly what alcohol did for me. The first time I took a drink when I was 18 years old, I had an immediate change in the way life looked, felt, and the way that I felt to be a part of life. And that was, it was an answer to a problem I didn't even know existed. And even though that very first time I drank, I blacked out and became unresponsive and was taken to the hospital, I couldn't wait to feel that way again. And I could go on and on with drinking stories and the things that happened to me while drinking. But what I can share with you over the 12 years that I drank is the frequency in which I drank and the quantities of which I drank steadily increased if you were to graph it out. And if I were to look back over most of the consequences that I had in life and the things that happened to me negatively, alcohol was involved. And on January 31st, 2009, when I was I wanted to party, and not one person wanting to spend time with me that night. Everything alcohol had given me, it had taken away tenfold. And I was broken, alone, and but I knew at the moment that was as good as life was ever going to get for me if something didn't change, that it was never going to get better than stumbling around homeless downtown Minneapolis, drunk and high. And through a series of events over the next couple of days, not by my own making, but by peers, I ended up in a treatment center where I was introduced to the doctor's opinion section of the book Alcoholics Anonymous. For the first time in my life, I learned that I was alcoholic. I knew that I was a drunk. I knew that I had drank too much, but I had no idea that I was alcoholic in the way that that book described. that my body physically reacted differently to alcohol than the average temperate drinker. And I didn't understand, and how could I, that I had this body that was different. That once I started to drink, I had little to no control over how much I was going to drink. But my own drinking confirmed that in fact was the case for me. It also, that section of the book explained to me that I had this abnormal obsession of the mind that tells me that even when I don't want to drink, that I'm going to drink. And I could look back over countless times when I was going to behave and be good and not drink. How many hangover Sunday or Monday mornings when I would come to and say, holy buckets, that was a really rough weekend. I need to do something different. I'm not going to drink. And then we've all experienced that. A few days or a few hours, a few weeks later, we suddenly, what looks like, changed our mind. When in all actuality, that's our alcoholism giving us that obsession of the mind. We take a drink, the phenomenon of craving kicks in, and I get drunk. And that's repeated time and time and time again. I love that cat. That treatment center introduced me to Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not a place that I wanted to be. I thought a 30-year-old gay man had no place in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was too cool for that, even though I was homeless, living in mommy and daddy's basement, and without anything going my way. And slowly but surely, through sponsorship direction and a group of friends that I fell into in Alcoholics Anonymous that had a home group, that had service commitments, that had sponsors, and that acted differently than I was acting, they carried me along as I began to form a relationship with a power greater than myself. And slowly but surely, I began to have a spiritual experience through the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous that alcohol had given to me instantaneously. And what I've come to find is that it's easy to stay sober today because I've had that spiritual experience through the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. The desire to drink has been removed, and all I have to do is stay in fit spiritual condition, which is a little bit more work than just going to meetings and keeping the plug in the jug. I have to have a home group. I have to sponsor people. I have to give back to Alcoholics Anonymous. And the beauty for me is I absolutely love doing that. AA is the greatest love of my life. This weekend in La Crosse, Wisconsin, we're going to be throwing a conference for 600 to 700 people, mostly between the ages of 18 and 30. And that's a really awesome thing to be a part of. And I sponsor a number of people, and they sponsor people. And I'm very active today in Alcoholics Anonymous and consider that the greatest privilege of my life. Through recovery, I've been blessed with things that I never even thought possible. This was the frothy emotional appeal I like to speak of. I graduated college, I got married, I have a career, all of those things that I never had while I was drinking and partaking in the previous way of living. So I could go on and on and on. I don't have a timer in front of me, so I don't know how long I've been speaking, and I'm excited to hear from all of you this evening from around the country. This is a really cool thing to be a part of. I really appreciate the opportunity to share. So with that, I pass, and I thank you for letting me share tonight.